Koodathayi is a quiet village in Kerala, India. It is a place defined by tight-knit communities and serene landscapes, where daily life follows a predictable, peaceful rhythm. At the center of one of its most respected families stood Jolly Joseph. To her neighbors, she appeared to be a devoted wife, a dedicated mother, and a pious member of the local church. Between 2002 and 2016, that peaceful rhythm broke. Over the course of 14 years, 6 different members of Jolly's extended family died. At the time, nobody suspected foul play. Local authorities and relatives wrote the deaths off as tragic, natural occurrences. A sudden heart attack here, a choking incident there, an unexplained collapse. In 2019, surviving relatives noticed troubling inconsistencies regarding the family estate and filed a police complaint. That action triggered an investigation that eventually led authorities to the local cemetery to open the family graves. Exhuming bodies is one thing. Proving they were murdered is another entirely. Investigators were faced with a daunting scientific problem. How do you detect a murder weapon that has been buried in wet, acidic soil for up to 17 years? The police alleged that the weapon of choice was poison, supplied by a highly coordinated local network. 2 men, M.S. Matthew and Praji Kumar, were brought in as key accomplices to the murders. They are accused of providing the toxic material. While highly lethal chemicals are strictly regulated, they are legally utilized in certain industrial trades. Praji Kumar, for instance, worked as a goldsmith, an environment where deadly compounds are frequently handled. The physical poison served one specific purpose. Alongside the murders, investigators uncovered a massive financial deception. Academic credentials were faked, and property wills were meticulously forged to slowly transfer the family's wealth into Jolly's hands. The long timeline reveals a highly calculated operation. Executing this required decades of sustained physical elimination and financial theft, planned and carried out step by step. The specific chemical weapon used in the killings was potassium cyanide. Within the human body, it is brutally efficient, shutting down the cell's ability to use oxygen and causing rapid death. But outside the body, potassium cyanide has a major forensic weakness. It is highly chemically unstable when exposed to the elements. The soil in Kerala is wet and highly acidic. When potassium cyanide, or KCN, sits in that environment, the hydrogen ions in the soil react with the compound. This chemical reaction breaks the original structure apart, forming a completely new molecule, hydrogen cyanide. And hydrogen cyanide doesn't stay in the ground. It is a highly volatile compound that rapidly turns into a gas. Over years of burial, those molecules simply float upward and evaporate, leaving the grave entirely empty of the original poison. Because of this chemical degradation, when the Central Forensic Science Laboratory analyzed the remains of 4 exhumed victims in 2022 and 2023, the results were devastating for the prosecution. They found absolutely zero trace of cyanide. In a standard murder case, a negative toxicology report might clear a suspect. But in long-term forensic investigations, the absence of a volatile chemical is a known scientific reality. The police couldn't rely on the soil. They had to anchor their case elsewhere. The prosecution salvaged their investigation by turning to the one victim who actually had an autopsy immediately after death. When Roy Thomas died in 2011, medical examiners successfully detected cyanide in his system before it could degrade. They found a second physical anchor in the remains of Silly Shaju. Exhumed and tested in 2020, her sample still retained positive traces of the poison, securing another critical piece of chemical evidence. Today, in August 2026, the trial for the Roy Thomas murder is in its final phase at the Kozhikode Special Additional Sessions Court, with the other cases expected to follow. Because the chemical evidence degraded in 4 of the graves, the prosecution strategy leans heavily on the timeline of the forged land deeds, the faked wills, and the highly suspicious behavioral patterns surrounding each death. The story has entirely consumed the region. It shattered local illusions of domestic perfection and sparked massive public obsession, inspiring true crime media adaptations like Netflix's Curry and Cyanide. The Koodathayi murders prove that the physical weapon doesn't always need to survive. Even when the chemical evidence evaporates into the air, a meticulous trail of forged documents and financial theft can still lead straight to the killer.
Every case has a story. See you in the next investigation.